Hi guys, welcome to Litgyan. This is the third part of MCQs on 20th century English literature based on Routledge history. The first question is, in an essay entitled Englands of the Mind, Seamus Heaney discusses the poetry of, you can read the options. The answer is B. Ted Hughes, Philip Larkin and Geoffrey Hill. The essay begins with a poem by Geoffrey Hill entitled The Triumph of Love. You can pause the video and read the lines. Moving on, the next question is, which movement's aim was to rid poetry of high-flown romanticism and bring it down to earth? Your options are A. The movement, B. Dadaism, C. Surrealism or D. Naturalism. The answer is A. The movement. Which of the following writers belong to the movement? Kingsley Amis, John Vane, Philip Larkin or DJ Enright? You have to choose the correct option. The answer is D, all of the above. Let's see some explanation about the movement. It was a term coined by J.D. Scott in 1954, the literary editor of The Spectator, to describe a group of writers including Philip Larkin, Kingsley Amis, Donald Davy, D.J. Enright, John Vane, Elizabeth Jennings, Thom Gunn and Robert Conquest. Let's move on. Heaney's early lecture, Yeats as an example, ends with words of praise for one of Yeats's poems. Identify the poem. A. The Countess Kathleen, B. The Wanderings of Oisin, C. Maud or D. Cuchulain Comforted. The answer is D. Cuchulain Comforted. Pardon me if I am pronouncing it wrong. The next question is, which poet frequently published found poetry? A. Philip Larkin, B. Ted Hughes, C. Peter Reading or D. Charles Tomlinson. The answer is C. Peter Reading. Let's see something about found poetry. It is a type of poetry created by taking words, phrases and sometimes whole passages from other sources and reframing them by making changes in spacing and lines or by adding or deleting text, thus imparting new meaning. It is a literary equivalent of a collage. The website Verbatim Poetry has been publishing found poems weekly since March 2009. It emphasizes the poetry found in ordinary places and employs traditional poetic forms such as the Shakespearean sonnet as well as free verse. Let's move on. Who described Ted Hughes' sensibility as pagan in the original sense, a heath dweller, in direct contrast with the urban concerns of Larkin? Your options are A. Seamus Heaney, B. John Betjeman, C. Geoffrey Hill or D. Edwin Morgan. The answer is A. Seamus Heaney. The next question is, identify the poem from the lines given below. I kill where I please because it is all mine. My manners are tearing of heads, the allotment of death. Your options are A. Crow, B. Hawk roosting, C. Birthday letters or D. Tales from Ovid. The answer is obviously B. Hawk roosting. Who succeeded John Betjeman as the Poet Laureate in 1985? A. Carol Ann Dully, B. Andrew Motion, C. Dylan Thomas or D. Ted Hughes? The answer is D. Ted Hughes. Who wrote the libretto for the Stravinsky opera The Rake's Progress with Chester Kallman? A. Harold Pinter, B. WB Yeats, C. W.H. Auden or D. Samuel Beckett? The answer is C. W.H. Auden. What is the nationality of Dylan Thomas? A. Irish, B. Scottish, C. French or D. Welsh? It is D. Welsh. The next question is, W.H. Auden's secondary worlds are important reflections on the nature of poetry originally given as lectures in memory of A. W.B. Yeats, B. T.S. Eliot, C. D.H. Lawrence or D. Thomas Hardy? The answer is B. T.S. Eliot. Let's see some explanation. Secondary Worlds is a book of 4 essays by W.H. Auden, first published in 1968. The 4 essays in the book are based on the 4 T.S. Eliot Memorial Lectures that Auden delivered at the University of Kent in 1967. I have also provided the titles of the 4 lectures. The title of the book is taken from Tolkien's essay on fairy stories, and the book is dedicated to Valerie Eliot, who was the second wife of T.S. Eliot. Let's move on. Identify the Dylan Thomas poem from the given lines. You can read the lines. Your options are A. Digging, B. Do not go gentle into that good night, C. Fern Hill or D. And death shall have no dominion. The answer is C. Fern Hill. The poem describes Thomas's childhood holidays on his aunt's farm in Wales. His choice of phrase is original. He sees smoke coming from chimneys as if it made tuneful sounds. The grass is so hot, it is as if it were on fire. The sun shines all day long. Words like green are used both literally and non literally, exploiting connotations of youth, happiness, and innocence. The ending to Fernhill is especially poignant, linking the innocence of the youth with an inevitable death while asserting the importance of the self through the poetry. Time held me green and dying, though I sang in my chains like the sea. The next question is, in the foreword to which work Auden wrote the following? It is a sad fact about our culture that a poet can earn much more money writing or talking about his art than he can by practicing it. Your options are A, the age of anxiety, B, the new letter, C, the shield of Achilles, or D, the dyer's hand. The answer is D, the dyer's hand. The Dyer's Hand and Other Essays is a collection of essays and lectures by W.H. Auden published in 1962. Many of the essays are revised versions of Auden's lectures as Professor of Poetry at the University of Oxford from 1956 to 61, including his inaugural lecture, Making, Knowing and Judging. The book is dedicated to Auden's tutor at Oxford, Neville Coghill. Let's move on. Dylan Thomas's first volume of poetry is entitled A. 18 Poems, B. Under Milkwood, C. A Christ's Christmas in Wales, A Child's Christmas in Wales, or D. The Notebook Poems. Let's see the answer. It is A. 18 Poems. Moving on, Summoned by Bells is a verse autobiography written by A. Dylan Thomas, B. Ted Hughes, C. John Betjeman, or D. Seamus Heaney. The answer is C. John Betjeman. It is a blank verse autobiography. It describes his life from his early memories of a middle-class home in Edwardian Hampstead, London, to his premature departure from Magdalen College, Oxford. Let's move on. Whose poems have examined the bog people? Your options are A. Ted Hughes, B. Dylan Thomas, C. Seamus Heaney, or D. W.H. Auden. The answer is obviously Seamus Heaney. Let's see some explanation. In a number of volumes beginning with Door into the Dark and Wintering Out, Heaney spent a significant amount of time writing on the Northern Irish bog. Particularly of note is the collection of bog body poems in North, featuring mangled bodies preserved in the bog. You can also read further. The next question is, which poem of Thom Gunn shows an uninhibited expression of gay themes? A. The Passages of Joy, B. The Men with Night Sweats, C. Frontiers of Gossip, or D. Boss Cupid. The answer is B. The Men with Night Sweats. The next question is, which of Larkin's poems describes couples attempting to give their lives some happiness and order, but concludes that happiness is something which only happens elsewhere outside our lives, in the past rather than in the present? Your options are A. The Less Deceived, B. It is some number in Roman, C. The Whitsun Weddings, or D. Church Going. Let's check the answer. It is C. The Whitsun Weddings. In the introduction to his anthology, the Oxford Book of 20th Century English Werse, Larkin underlines the importance of a native English tradition as opposed to the modernist influence and mentions Hume as the major poet of the modern period. Your options are A. W.H. Auden, B. WB Yeats, C. T.S. Eliot, or D. Thomas Hardy. The answer is D. Thomas Hardy. The last question of this video is, Dylan Thomas's Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night was written in the form of A. Sonnet, B. Ode, C. Villanelle, or D. Dramatic Monologue. The answer is C. Villanelle. Let's see what a villanelle is. It is also known as a villanesque. It is a 19-line poetic form consisting of 5 tercets followed by a quatrain. The villanelle is an example of a fixed verse form. The word derives from Latin, then Italian, and is related to the initial subject of the form being the pastoral. That is it for today. Thanks for watching. You can leave your doubts, suggestions, or feedback in the comment section below. Till then, happy learning!